Well, hi there, and happy Monday to you. I hope that you had a fun Super Bowl weekend. I'm so glad that you're here tuning in. And if you would put in the chat where you are tuning in from, I would love to see that. And so, listen, we're going to get into it today. So, the question, let me ask you, we always start with a thought provoking question. So, let me ask you, has there ever been a time that you've said, I really want to practice self care, or you start with self care, but you're not consistent and you really want to know how to truly, practice self care consistently? Well, I'm glad that you are here tonight because we're going to talk about how you can do just that. We're going to talk about nurse self care the full circle way. All right, so welcome to the break room. This is your self care safe space where you can escape from the day to day and you can get refreshed and recharged and then return back to those tasks that you have at hand. And I am Deetra Dennis. I am your host here. And I am the self-care coach for nurses, and I empower multi-passionate nurses to practice self-care or prioritize. How about that? Prioritize the care of their MVP, which is you, so that you can show up as the best version of yourself and impact the well-being of those connected to you. So I'm again so glad to have you here, and I always like to share that we are streaming live on YouTube, LinkedIn, as well as on Facebook. And for those of you that are on YouTube, I would love for you to subscribe. Go ahead and join the family. And for all of you, I would love for you to share this with someone who you feel could benefit from what we talk about in here. Invite them in. Sharing is caring. And lastly, I love to read your comments. And if you are watching the replay, just hashtag replay and respond as well. So I love to have the dialogue again, because this is our conversation. This is our time in the break room where we just chat it up a little bit, right? So we're going to get into it today. Again, we're talking about nurse self-care, the full circle way. So before we get into that, just want to just break it down a little bit that in this simplest form, self-care is taking actions so that you can improve your well-being, your overall well-being, or making those lifestyle changes again so that it impacts your well-being and eventually helping others, do the same. And so does that sound a little straightforward, like, in its simplest form of what self-care is? And I know even though it may be simple, sometimes it's still like, you're not able to do it consistently. And that's what we're talking about here tonight. And there are some barriers across the board. You're not alone, right? Just want to let you know you're not alone. That there are three barriers that I'll mention. There are several, but three that I wanted to highlight for us tonight. Three barriers that, prevent us from practicing self-care consistently. Excuse me. I had hiccups there. So the first one is feeling guilty. And we've talked about this before, but many times because we are serving others and, doing everything for everyone, it's like you feel guilty if you put yourself first or you feel like it's selfish. And we're going to change our thought process about that selfish part of things. But that is one of the barriers, feeling guilty about practicing self-care. And it's like an underlying thing, and it kind of guides our actions. Whatever's going on internally manifests externally, right? So number two is time constraints. Listen, I know as a multi-passionate nurse, you are being everything to everybody. And I mean it just like that, everybody. And your plate is full. Your plate has become a platter. And, you just don't have the time, so we think, to prioritize self-care. Now, this last one that I'm going to mention, just stick with me. The last one is feeling unworthy. Ouch. I know that one may be hard to admit, but listen, there was research done by Biomed Central, and listen to this research, okay? So, what they did, they were exploring the meaning of self-care among nurses and doctors. And this is what it revealed. It said that those that were in the study, that the nurses and doctors were overly critical of themselves or with a low sense of self-worth, and they often avoid self-care because they didn't see it as a priority. I know that one kind of stings a little bit. But, and this is the thing, again, in that research, there were many other barriers, but the low self-worth, low sense of self-worth was the highest of them. And so when you have the low self-worth, it ends up being a lack of self-care. And I want to just ask, the three barriers that I mentioned, did any of those resonate with you? Type me in the chat if any of those resonated with you, that you kind of see yourself in one of those three. Well, I saw myself in all three, in times past, in the feeling guilty and felt like I didn't have time because I had everything else to do, taking care of everybody else. And then the low self-worth. Once I really sat down and thought about it, yeah, that was me. And so, I don't want to leave you there. What are some things we can do to overcome those barriers? And that is where practicing nurse self-care, the full circle way, comes into place. And so basically what it is with Full Circle, and if you don't know what Full Circle is, Full Circle Health Coaching LLC is my business. And we focus on self-care for nurses. And so what I do and what I teach and coach about is how you can incorporate self-care into your daily life. And so it's not like another thing on the things to do list, right? Another task on the things to do list. No, we want to incorporate it into things that we do already, right? In our daily life. And so I'm not sure if you've heard of one. I have a quote that I want to mention and see if you've heard of this one before. So this quote says that the best time to add a new habit is immediately after an existing habit, right? Or have you heard of the African proverb that if you can walk, then you can dance. And if you can talk, then you can sing. Any of those ring true to you? The quote or the African proverb? And basically, what both of them were suggesting is that what you already do, you can do more. And I know you're saying, girl, wait a minute, I'm already doing enough. I get it. Hanging out with me. So I'm not sure if you've heard of James Clear. He is a behavioral psychologist. And basically what it is called habit stacking. Have you heard of that? Habit stacking. So what that is, and he really talks about, in the sense, it's like tricking your brain, if you will. So it's one of the best ways to build a new habit by, incorporating it into what you already do. And so it's, rather than saying, okay, pairing it with, okay, I have to go to the gym or I have to do it at this certain time, is pairing it with a habit you currently already do. And so, and with what happens with that, you're linking the new habits to a cycle that is already in place, and it is built into your brain already. So that's, it's already there going on, and you're more likely to stick with the new habit when you do that. So, excuse me, basically habit stacking can help you shift your thoughts about self-care being that task of things to do on your things to do list, right? And it will help you experience joy in creating that new healthy lifestyle. So I'll just share with you, like for me, what do I do for habit stacking? So number one, I'll give you, when I first wake up in the morning, is not reaching for the phone, is not looking on social media. The first thing when I wake up in the morning, it is gratitude, prayer and meditation. And I do that on repeat as well with going to bed. And I also read a book. 15 minutes before going to bed, I do that. Also, after dinner, I move my body 15 minutes. I get a walk in or I get a dance in. And then when I'm cooking, I am preparing nourishing food for myself. I always have music playing when I am cooking. That puts me in the right frame of mind. And, we cook with love. And so that's creating the atmosphere for that. But also while I'm cooking and playing the music, listen, I might stir a bit and I might do a two-step a bit. So listen, adding in some movement as well there. So those are some ways how I incorporate self-care into my day. And there are many other things that I do throughout the day to ensure that I prioritize care for me. And I would love to see in the chat, what are some things that you do? And you may be doing habit stacking already, or what would you like to habit stack so that you can prioritize your self-care? I would love to see that in the chat. And I know it's a delay, so I'll wait there. So now, what happens? What are some benefits to incorporating self-care into your day, or might I say, practicing self-care the full circle way? There are three things I want to highlight. Yes, your overall well-being, by, practicing self-care. But here are some things I think we may overlook or may not even think of. Okay, so number one is it boosts your inner strength. What do I mean by that? So when you are practicing or incorporating the self-care throughout your day, it really changes your perspective of things. It changes how you talk to yourself. You know the song Christopher Williams, I talk to myself because I ain't got no one to talk to? That one. But you want to be sure that you're talking positively to yourself and not negatively. But by practicing that self-care, it will do that. It builds your inner strength. Also, your self-confidence, it increases your self-worth, which we talked about. That was one of the barriers. So by practicing the self-care, all of those things boost your inner strength. Okay. And it changed your perspective on the way you think about things. It's a good thing. The second thing is it helps you perform at your best. And I know, again, if you think about the self-care when you're having it as a task or another thing to do, you feel as though it will cause you not to perform at your best, or that you're not able to do the things that you have on your list to do. But just if you incorporate it into your day, it helps you perform at your best, or serve at your best, or serve at your highest. If you are exhausted, you're not able to do that, right? You're there, but are you fully there? And we've talked about that as well, being fully present when you are serving others. And, in doing so, it also better helps others in the long run. So you showing up as the best version of you because you're giving them the best of you and not what's left of you, it really helps them as well. And then lastly, this one is very important. All of them are important, but this one, it really makes you aware of your personal needs, the self-awareness. Because so often, I know, if you're working in the hospital setting or even in any other specialty of nursing, so often we are so focused on serving, which is awesome, but we tend to neglect or ignore the signs that our body is saying, hey girl, we need some water. Or hey girl, I need to go to the bathroom, or just you need to breathe, because when you're in a stressful situation, you're breathing, you have the shallow breathing, and you just, may need a moment to breathe. But this is what self-care does. It allows you to really be more self-aware. When you are taking care of your needs physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, this is how you show up as the best version of yourself. And so that is all I have for us tonight. I would love to hear comments or feedback on if any of those stood out for you, any of the barriers, or even the benefits of integrating self-care the full circle way. Any of that resonated with you? So, I have a quote for us, but I do want to remind you, if I didn't say this before, like the video, right? And share it with others in comments. I did say it in the beginning, so it bears repeating. So if you would like the video and share it with others, and I would love to see your comments again. If you're viewing this as a replay, just hashtag replay. And, let's have some conversations in the comments. And so our quote for this evening is self-care is like a compass. The self-care habits you build will lead you to your wellness goals. So if there aren't any questions or any comments, I will give you back your day so you can get back to the things that you have for you this evening. So I wish you a wonderful evening and a beautiful week, and I will see you on next week. Thank you.